Good morning, Chicagoland. This is Munira from Chicagoland. Good morning, world. This is Munira from Chicagoland. That's what I meant to say. I am the CEO of Kismet Ventures, Inc., and I am bringing value to people out there who are bringing people value. So I am trying to build connections and bring value to people who are building connections in the world. And my guest today is Jay Goff. Hi, Jay.
Hey, good morning. It's great to see you in Chicagoland.
Chicagoland.
Chicagoland, and I'm all the way down in Southwest Missouri land.
Yes. Hi, Jay. So sorry about that. I am having trouble trying to make an appointment for my husband.
Okay, that's fine.
So tell me a little bit about yourself, Jay.
Yeah, I had a distracted noise there that I thought was, my name is Jay. I'm down Southwest Missouri. I'm speaking of Chicago. My wife is actually in Chicago. She's speaking at the American Dental Association. Did a presentation, a couple of presentations yesterday, and so she'll be heading back home tonight from Chicago as she wraps that up. So she's been there several times, and I've yet to make it to Chicago. That's definitely on my list of places to go to. But
we need to have dinner when you come.
Well, it'd be a great time. So I am retired Army. I did 26 years in the United States Army. And so now I have a business. My wife and I co-found a business called Goff Impact Consulting. Now, we did this because we want to be professional coaches, speakers, and trainers. While we've always been coaches, speakers, and trainers, we never really did it as a profession. In the military, I was a senior leadership course instructor. And so I was teaching and coaching leadership. I was teaching how do you present yourself on giving briefings and things. I was in the entertainment industry for a while as an entertainer. So I was kind of a front man on stage performing. So always being in the public eye of giving a message. When I was performing, I would sing, but I would always add a message that would add value to their life. So not only did I want them to come and be entertained, but I wanted them to be inspired. Well, now with Goff Impact Consulting, my wife and I, that's our desire, that's our goal, that's our calling in life, is to add value to the lives of other people, to help them reach their greatest potential. When we talk about potential, many times people will hear, I'm not reaching my full potential. I'm not fulfilling my potential. Or somebody else will say, you're not reaching your full potential. You have greater potential than what you're currently doing. And what I discovered is the truth is that no one knows your potential. Because no one knows your life purpose. No one knows the gift that God's given to you, the abilities and talents. They may see that, but they're only seeing a small part of that, a small portion of that could lead into something greater. So no one knows your full potential. And you know what? Here's a surprise, folks. You don't know your full potential either. Because just as soon as you start to reach a place, a level that you think you've reached what some call perfect, which I always say there's no such thing as perfect, because once you reach this, there's always something better you can do. So I call that the process of perfecting, is there's always going to be something more to do. So your potential is never truly reached. The only one who truly knows that is the one who created you, right? He knows your potential, and he's got you and gearing you towards what that is if you just listen to that still small voice. So that's what we do. Our tagline for Goff Impact Consulting is where your best just got better, because we can help you to reach what you think is your best, but we're going to push you a little more. We're going to help you discover how you can be even better than that. And so that's kind of where we're at. As you can see by my shirt, it's on the camera, I am a member of the John Maxwell team, just as you are. And while we are members of this team, John has always encouraged us, the resources that he's given us, and the mentoring is to take what he has impacted the world with for 40 years, but take what he's done, take what he's doing, and make it better. Make it your own. You know, when we have all these resources available to us, regurgitating what he has said, someone else said, are we taking that and using that to create our own programs and workshops? Because the truth is, John Maxwell's name might get you in the door, right? But you're the person they're going to invite back into the room.
True.
So people need to know who Jay is. People need to know who Munira is. People need to know who my wife Katrina is, and all those that we are like 18,000 plus, members of the John Maxwell team are all doing our own thing, applying our own life experiences to what John has given us, basically as a kickstart, if you will, of information. So
that makes a lot of sense. So few things that you said was listen to the voice in your head, right? So our voice, that's always going to diminish your potential. Like, you can't do this. So that's one voice. And then there's another voice that says, you can do this. Here, this is the path. So you know how to differentiate.
Well, you've really got to ask yourself, always stay in the process of asking yourself questions. Great leaders ask great questions, right? Good leaders ask great questions. Well, you've got to ask yourself questions. Is what I'm doing or what I want to do align with my purpose and passion, with my goals? And that voice inside, we have to ask ourselves, does this align with what I want to do? And is this income producing or income reducing? Because anytime we're doing something that isn't aligned with our goals, it's actually taking away valuable time, resources, and energy from accomplishing that. If you focus more time on, let's say, turn the television off, that's the turn the TV off. Get off of those constant feeds you see. When you look at a video on Facebook, how many of us, show of hands, right, are guilty of watching the next video? Oh, wait, there's another video. Oh, and we'll lose so much time. Is that really investing in the best use of your time investment? So we have to ask ourselves, is this productive or is this reducing when we hear those voices? And we're going to get them. And those voices are constantly going to be reminding us, telling us, you're not worthy, okay? You're not good enough. You'll never succeed, right? Pick your own statements. We all have heard them. You got to understand that those voices are coming from a place, and they're only there. Why? Because this one is telling you, yes, you can. If this one wasn't talking, neither would this one. Okay, and I love how I'm using my hand puppets here. What are you talking to? I don't know. But, and it's funny, I've got a dear friend who's a professional ventriloquist. I always tease him about how you doing and your little friends.
Yeah.
But that's really it. As long as you've got something that's pulling you towards it, compelling you in your goals and your dreams and your aspirations, you're always going to have something else pulling you away from it, trying its best. You've got to decide, which of these am I going to give the most investment of my time, energy, and resources to? We all have dreams. What are you doing to achieve it?
So when you are talking to a potential client, and they are looking at, okay, I want to do this, but I don't know where to start. Who is your ideal client, and how do you advise them? What is the first step that you?
Well, the very first thing is, anytime I speak with a potential client, they've always got the freebie. They never leave my presence without some valuable tools to start using. Whether they hire me or not, I always make sure that they leave with something they can implement immediately towards their goal. And many times it's just getting them to that first point. What is the first point? So when I'm sitting down and speaking with someone, I find out what is their big why. Many times we are focused on the what. What do I want to achieve? And sometimes we can get lost in that when we're trying to figure out our big, what it is and how to get that going. But when we can look back and think and ask ourselves, why do I want to do this? Why do I want to achieve this? What does it mean to me? Then we have a purpose. We now have a purpose in doing what we want to do. So when I can get them back to that why, asking that why, we'll find out a lot of times, like a young man I was speaking to recently who's trying to get his life on track. He's made a lot of mistakes in life. He doesn't know the first step to really get his life in a way that is honoring to his God and his family. By the time we were done, I gave him a focal point. And that focal point was, after going through the why, was his son. What's his son? He wanted to be a better example for his son. So I brought his son's name up several times because I wanted that to be a constant reminder to him. Every decision I make, every voice I listen to, is it adding value to my son and what I want to do to be that example? So I'll always ask people get them back to that why question, and then say, all right, help me understand what you want to do, what does the end look like, and what do you think the first step is to take? A lot of times people already know, but it needs somebody outside of them to ask the questions that they may have asked themselves, but they've discarded. But when someone like me or like you ask these questions, and we ask them hard, tough questions, and we call them on their bad story, BS, if you will, we call them on that, identify it, and hold them accountable, then they have something to start building on. You can't build the roof of a house until first you built the foundation.
True.
So if we can get them started on the foundation, then that gets them moving in the right direction. And then hopefully they'll decide to continue, and I'll help them go ahead and continue the framework, the electricity and plumbing, and let's put a roof on that thing, and then we'll work on building a pool in the back.
Okay. That sounds like a wonderful plan. No, but you put that in perspective for somebody who doesn't know, right? And it helps because we as influencers and value adders, as I call ourselves, because what is our purpose? I often ask myself, what is my purpose? And I feel like I need to help people. I need to bring their word out. There's so many people who are doing so many wonderful things. Mm-hmm. And we don't know half of it because they don't blow their own horn. It's not about bragging, but it's also making other people aware, because then we can tap into their expertise and collaborate. I am a big believer of collaboration.
Me too.
I have met so many people that I could collaborate with, but somehow they have a fear of rejection, and they want the whole pie, their cake, and they want to keep their cake and eat it too. Is that the thing? So they want to do that instead of sharing, because they don't understand that in sharing, you get more abundance. I feel that. So I like this purpose that you have, that you and your wife have together, that, it's growing so much and bringing value to people. And I understand that, having a focal point for each person. Now, what happens if somebody who is 22 years old, lost, don't have a child, have had parents, strict religious values set upon them, but they don't believe in those things? How do you help those people? Then there are people who have children out of wedlock and feel that they are useless. I mean, that's not a new thing. In the yesteryears it was, but now there are some people who hate themselves for it. And I feel people don't give themselves enough value or enough, they don't commend themselves for doing or achieving to which point they've reached. And to your point, to the little young man who has helped you, who you're helping, at least he was aware that he needed help.
Mm-hmm.
So I really commend you for that, because you're helping people now. So how do people find you? And what are you looking for in a potential client?
Well, first of all, could I address something you were just saying a moment ago?
Sure.
Okay, you talk about, kind of the, overcoming maybe some of the enforced religious beliefs of our parents or something, or we should live a certain way according to what our parents or others expect us. And what happens is God created us for relationships, okay, to communicate and connect and collaborate together. But he didn't create us that we should become other people. In other words, I'll never be George Clooney. No matter how much I want to look like George Clooney, I'm never going to be. Now, I've got the silver going here, and he looks pretty good. He looks better than I do with that, but I'll never be George Clooney. But could I collaborate with George Clooney? The possibilities are there, yes. They're not impossible. Probably improbable at this time, but it's not impossible. But I'll never be George Clooney. Now, I'm saying that to say this. We are all designed as individuals with gaps. I believe that we are puzzles that God created like a puzzle, but he left out pieces of our puzzle intentionally, because that's when, if we were all complete and whole, we wouldn't need anybody else to help fill our gaps. So relationships fill gaps, but you got to be cautious on what you allow to fill that gap. That's where I talk about my inner circles. If you remember at the summit, I spoke about the 3 spheres of influence. You got to be intentional about who you invite into each one of those to fill gaps. Now, while we have gaps, we also are gap fillers, which means God designed us so that when we do connect with people, we can help fill their gaps, right? And that's relationships, that's connecting, that's collaborating, that's partnering. That's what that is. But no one was designed to fulfill the expectations of other people. We're designed to fulfill the expectation of God. So we're in a constant journey through life to discover what is that. That's where we look for our purpose in life. So I would say for those who are frustrated because of what others are saying, that they're not fulfilling their expected potential from others, is be you. Because there is no other you, and there will never, ever be another you. So discover who you are. Turn it around. Would her parents or his parents, whoever you're talking about, would they turn around and expect their parents to fulfill their expectations? Be more like me. No, they've lived their life. They are who they are. We are who we are. So we have to have that freedom. And sometimes that means I have to step away from even those I'm closest to so I can fulfill my purpose. And identify that. So she's got to be very confident in the fact that she has purpose. Stop the negative self-talk. Stop repeating the words what other people say, because here's what I know. People will talk about you more than they'll talk to you about you, right? They will talk about you, but even when they talk about you to you and it's negative, where's that coming from? Is it coming from a heart of love? Is it coming from a heart of ignorance and confusion? Because they see in you something that you may not see in you, and we want those people around, but are they the type of people who see in you the positives, not the negatives? So that's what she needs to surround herself with. People that are positive, people who believe in her, and she needs to start believing in herself, and that a lot of good self-talk will help in that. And a coach.
But see, this is one person, right? One person who, and there's so many others out there who need help and who need the positiveness in their life. There's all these sayings out there about positive. If you Google them, there's so many out there.
Oh.
How many do we implement? And how many do we take it into our hearts and say, I can do this, So that's where I think my purpose is, because I see the value. And that's another thing, is that we see the value a person brings, or like you were saying, that we need to reach the potential that other people see in us. Like our bosses will say, you have a lot of potential, but you need to step up. So how is it that they see the potential and we ourselves don't? Can you comment on that?
I believe a lot of it comes from our past experience that we're still carrying forward. I would say two things to that point. One would be that if a leader says something like that, or a parent or a loved one says, I see potential in you, you're not, you could do so much better, then they need to also follow that with a solution, right? We would, as a leader, we wouldn't expect our people to come to us with all their problems unless first they come to me with 3 solutions. That's the way I lead. And that's what I expect. Don't come to me with a problem unless you have 3 potential solutions, and let's talk about it. Okay? I shouldn't solve your problems for you. We should solve the problem together.
Yes.
So when a leader comes to you and says, you're not fulfilling your potential, you could do so much better. Okay. Help me understand that. Tell me how. Show me opportunities. Don't come to me with that. That's what we need to do as leaders, okay? And as coaches. Now, for the one who doesn't believe in themselves and stuff, how much do they take in? How much positivity do they need until they make that change where they can own it themselves? I love how someone once said that it was a step parent. A stepmother was caring for her stepchildren. Now, her stepchildren were raised by another mother with less standards, I guess you could say. Manners weren't that well, or the kids didn't have good habits that the stepmother expected of them to have. Now, they come from 2 different backgrounds. They come from 2 different histories. Now, so the question was asked by the stepmother, when do you just give up? Because I'm always teaching them, but they're just not grasping it. They say, when do you give up? And I say, you never give up. Because while you may be trying to encourage and enforce and teach 10 things, know that 1 or 2 is going to stick, and that's progress. So the same here, stay with it, stay repetitive, stay into it. Something's going to stick, and as it starts to stick, momentum builds up. When negative comes in and knocks on the door, okay, don't open the door. Instead, replace it with something positive. When discouragement comes, crank up the radio, listen to YouTube motivational tracks. I do that almost every morning just to get myself pumped up and my creativity going. Every morning I'm listening to motivational tracks. And that's what they need, is more motivation. If you're discouraged, you need more encouragement. If you're not motivated, you need more motivation. If you're not inspired, you need more inspiration. So what is it that's dragging you away from creating the kind of life you want in a positive way? If it's negative, eliminate it. Get rid of it. And it's that simple. Replace it with something else. Because we are a product of what I call the 5 E's. We are all a product of our education, our experiences, our environment, our I've got 2 more E's.
Experiences.
So our experiences, I mentioned experience, education, environment, experience.
Environment.
And I said environment. They're my 5 E's, and I can't even think of the last 2. But anyway, we are a collection of all these things in our life that we've taken in and soaked in. So that means if you're not where you want to be, then ask yourself, what have I been surrounding myself with? What am I taking in? Whether it's circumstances, education, who you're listening to, the people you have in your circles. What is that? Because that's forming you. That's forming you. And if you don't like where you're at, you've got to evaluate that and create new environments, new circles of influence. Yeah.
My question then would be, how are you then? So yes, all this is good, but the first step starts with awareness, right? That
Yeah.
I need to get this cobwebs, the negativity cobwebs out of my life. So that's the first step. How do you take that very first step? And how do you know you are full of negativity? How do you know that there is negativity around you?
Well, I think one, it's awareness, like you said, it's acknowledging it then. You have the awareness, but now you've got to acknowledge it. Okay. I'm aware that there's negativity around me. I'm acknowledging, yes, there is negativity around me. In other words, it's like Tony Robbins says, he's not going to tell you there's no weeds in the flower bed. Okay. You got weeds. Acknowledge that. Now you get to decide, now what do I need to do to get rid of the weeds? So it's awareness, it's acknowledgement, it's accountability. Get someone else, talk to somebody else. Hey, here's where I am. Here's where I want to go. Can you help me? And go to somebody that you can truly trust, that has your best interests at heart. Sometimes even best friends and family members aren't really the best accountability partners.
True.
Because they'll just say, oh, you're okay. Oh, don't worry. You know what? You'll get them next time. Okay. Yay for the cheerleaders, but cheerleaders are not accountability partners. Now, you can be an accountability partner and cheer, but it's very hard for cheerleaders to be accountability partners.
True.
Right?
That's true.
So you need that. You need the action steps. You need the right associations around you, affiliations. You need all these things, and I have a long list of A's, but you need these things to help you to make that first step. Once you are aware of it, acknowledge it. When I say acknowledge it, say it out loud, proclaim it, write it out. I have this awareness. Boom. That's an acknowledgement.
No, I understand that. But if somebody who is totally unaware, and how does this person become aware of all these things? I mean, awareness I believe, I'm answering my own question. So I believe that sometimes it's watching other people, and you feel, why do they have something and I don't? That's aware. And then, or they realize that because they are doing something, that they realize that, oh, I need to take the next step. So it's self-awareness or watching other people. But if they don't have any of that, and you are a coach and you see that this person has no awareness, how as a coach do you bring them to awareness?
Well, it's asking all the questions. You've got to keep asking the questions until they have that aha moment. See, if they don't have an awareness, they haven't had an aha moment. And they won't get that unless they are open to that being presented to them, to that coming from. If nobody's open to discovering what's going on in their life, to get to that point of awareness, you can ask all the questions of the world. So in order to get them to that point of awareness, they've got to be open to it. You've got to ask them question after question and be patient. Ask a question and shut up. Let them explore that in their mind. Silence is a valuable tool, because somebody needs to feel that silence, right? So if you just ask the question and stop, they're processing and they're thinking, okay, I need to say something. And even if they say something and respond with something that doesn't make sense, because they responded, they're now starting the wheels to move. Their mind is moving. Okay, as soon as they ask a question or they say something, ask them a question about what they just said. Or another question, say, clarify that. Well, go a little deeper on that. Well, explain that. Or where did you get that experience from? Or whatever the question may be in response to what they say, to get them on track to move. Sometimes the hardest thing, once a train is moving, it's moving, right? The hardest thing is getting the train to move. And then once you finally get it moving, it has to gain momentum. It has to gain speed. The questions help that to happen. Now here's what I know. I had my coaching session this morning with Jeru. Getting started was pretty rough. It was pretty rough. It was just a rough start. But once the questions were coming, there was a sense of awareness. This is a perfect example of this morning with my mentoring and coaching with Jeru. Once the questions started coming, it started feeding my mind and getting the wheels turning. Now I knew what I needed to ask. But I didn't really know what I needed to ask until the questions came. So be patient. The question. Stay the course. Stay the course. Until they get that aha moment, there's awareness.
So do you have a specific program that you teach, or are you teaching from John Maxwell's books? What is your focus?
You mean as far as my overall business, or
yes,
teaching?
Your overall business.
Overall business. You know, I use a lot of John's material, but I'll be honest with you. I use John's stuff. Like I said in the beginning, he wants us to go and make it better. What John has provided for us is phenomenal. I mean, we got the resources from the #1 leadership expert in the world, right? And if it's good enough to take to the Pope, okay, and his people, or to national leaders around the world and major Fortune 500 company, if it's good enough for them, by gosh, it's good enough for me to bring to small businesses and leaders locally. But what I do is I use it as a foundation. I build on that. But then I use my personal life experiences, my philosophies on leadership, and personal development and relationship building, and I tie that in with it, because, like I said, John's a great way to get into the door, but it's Jay Goff they're hiring, paying for, and it's me they're listening to. So what do I bring to the table? So I do that. I use John's stuff for that. I do have a lot of programs that have been working on. You know, of one of them, the Spheres of Influence that I've been building as part of my big program called the Transformational Influencers Model, or TIM, named after Tim. And there's a personal story that goes along with that, the process of success of Tim from a little boy to a successful entrepreneur. So I'm building that. That's like my really big project. So there's workshops that are coming from that. There's speaking events that I'll be speaking at, and I'm even writing a book based on that as well. So that's a big project. We also have a program called the Marriage Fitness Train that my wife has created, and she kind of heads that up, and I kind of just sideline with that with her and support. But we have that going as well to help people before they get married, during the marriage, and even hopefully not after the marriage, you know. But if it is, it's to prepare people for the next step in life. And I've got a fatherhood ministry that I've incorporated a lot of that into, to help men become better men so they can become better husbands and fathers. So that's what we do. So yeah, but I'd say the biggest project for me right now is my Transformational Influencers Model that I'm building. I'm building a community on that as well. It's by invitation only, but if you want to know more information about it, reach out to me and let's talk. But I am looking for people that truly desire to be transformative influencers by transforming first their life, and by influence, transforming the lives of other people around them, even on a global scale. You know, with our reach with the internet now, we can reach anybody around the world.
So for your team model, you said you're looking for people who want to transform. Do they have to be at a certain point in their life, or when you're finding your ideal people? You
know, for my ideal people, I'd say it's people that are intentional about wanting to become their best. It's that way even if I'm just taking somebody on a one-on-one coaching. I want people that are very intentional and they're dedicated to do the work. I love what my mentor told me one time. Jeru said that, you know, the best way I could honor my family was to do the work. The best way I could honor him, Jeru, my mentor and coach, is to do the work. And the best way I could honor my Father in heaven, my God, is to become the person he's created me to be. Well, I would expect that for other people. Do the work. Do the work. You got to be intentional about it. Those I see that are progressing and those that are truly invested in their personal and professional and relationship growth and development are the people I want to see that potentially could be a part of the Transformational Influencers Model. Because not only are they building their own life, but they care about the lives of other people, and they want to influence and become their very best so they can help others become the very best based on their influence. So that's what I'm looking at. And I've got my eyes on a lot of people right now that I'd like to invite in that.
Okay, I wish you the best. I wish you the best. And I know you've given me your webpage, so I will put that in there. Okay. And anything else you want to share?
I would say, yeah, we don't have a website. We find that most everything is done on social media now. So I've given Munira my Facebook page. It's my personal Facebook page. And I'll also, I didn't do it yet, but I'll send you the one to our Facebook Goff Impact Consulting page.
Okay.
That's one where everybody can really grow and stuff. As a follow me on that, and you could just Facebook Goff Impact Consulting and it'll pop up too. Then that's where we'll be sharing a lot of our programs on as well, and the events, our workshops, seminars, all that stuff is going to be right there. So, yeah.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much, Jay. I appreciate you joining us, and thank you for your time.
Well, this is fun.
This was awesome. Thank you.
Well,